floating in midair. You can see the stars. You can see things happening around you. You can hear voices in the distance, and there's this great murmuring of voices. You could hear every conversation that was going on. But the overwhelming feeling that I had was one of love. This love just kept washing over me. And I became aware of a person, a human being, stood there. She was very beautiful, but she was made of light. I felt again this wash of love coming at me. I wanted to stay there. I was quite happy. I'd never seen anything like this. But she made me very aware that I couldn't stay there. Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm 70 years old and I come from a place called near Cambridge in England. When I was 11 years old, I had a near-death experience. I was a kid coming home from school, goofing about as you do, not taking any notice of anything, and I stepped into the front of an oncoming car. It hit me in the back and jettisoned me right across the street, where I cracked my head on a curbstone. At the point of crack, I didn't feel any pain. I've got to tell you, I didn't feel any pain at all. But at that point, I had a massive crack, and all of a sudden, I was just traveling at enormous speed upwards. And all of a sudden, I came to stop, and it was like I was suspended in a night sky. And I momentarily felt some, God, what's happening? Because there was nothing under my feet. So I had no, and it was like I was just there hovering. And it was weird because it felt like somebody put something under my feet and I felt fine. Now, what I noticed was it was almost like I had hypersensitivity. I could see everything. Floating in midair, you can see the stars. You can see things happening around you. You can hear voices in the distance, and there's this great murmuring of voices. But you could hear every conversation that was going on. But the overwhelming feeling that I had was one of love. This love just kept washing over me. And I'm a child of 11 years old. I don't have any really religious things going on. But it was strange. Over to my right-hand side, there was an enormous hedge. And within inside that hedge, there were flowers. They were amazing. They were colours that I've never seen in this lifetime. They were huge. They were iridescent. They sparkled. They moved. I'd even say they were making music. There was something about them, but they were definitely vibrating. And they drew my eye, of course they did. And I was aware that behind that barrier, there were people looking out at me. I could hear. I should hear. And it was like, I knew that I couldn't go beyond that. Anyway, further to my right, I became aware of a person, a human being, stood there. The only way I can describe her was she was a lady. She looked about 30 years old. She was very beautiful, but she was made of light. And I always sort of say, if anybody watched Star Wars, you know, when they have holograms, it's like that. But she had more depth to her. I felt this wash of love coming at me. I wanted to stay there. I was quite happy. I'd never seen anything like this. She made me aware, although I don't remember her speaking to me, but she made me very aware that I couldn't stay there. Now, you know what kids are like. I was like, I want to stay here. I'm quite happy. And as I think I was going to object, I felt an enormous pain in my head and slap I was back on the pavement. Some kids there have got blue lights everywhere. Some kids are going, "Is she dead, mister?" No, I wasn't dead, but I had a real smashed in head here. And that's what happened to me at 11 years old. I can only say to you that it was the most impactful and the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me. I'm 70 years old, but I can remember it as clear as it was yesterday. For years, I thought it was a dream. When I was about 20, I got a train to go to London and I picked a book up called Life After Life by a guy called Dr. Raymond Moody. And I sat on the train and I didn't want to get off it in London. I wanted to read the rest of it because I realized through his book I'd had a near-death experience. There were many, many stories similar to mine. I didn't rush through a tunnel, but I did move at enormous speed. It was like being sucked out of your body at great speed. It took me on a journey, and I'm still on that journey at 70. What I would say to anybody that hasn't had one, you can't imagine the amount of love, the feeling, the depth of love that is. I've heard it from other near-death experiences as well. Absolutely. It's like you're bathed in it. You're accepted. You are who you are, and you're loved because of it and in spite of who you are. I'd like everybody to have one because I think the world would be a far, far better place if people knew, as I did, at 11 years old, I knew for certain that I could exist outside of my body. I knew that I had been hyper aware. I was really on it. I felt totally alive, like I've never felt here. And yet I also knew that my body was laying on a pavement. We can't die, and that's what I brought back from my near-death experience. I know that we cannot die because what happens at death, I don't think we understand what it is, really. We look at somebody that's died and we think, oh, that's it. But it's not it at all. The consciousness has come out the body and gone elsewhere. Near-death experiences are wonderful. So many thousands of people, millions of people are having them. I was just really, really privileged because it took me on a journey of exploration. I later on became a medium. I did lots of research into paranormal, and it has absolutely changed my life. I just wish everybody could feel just a little bit of what I felt that day. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Hannah, for sharing your story. It's been a long time ago, but you remember it as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll never forget it. It was so impactful.
Do you feel like some people explain their NDE as if it was more real than real?
Oh yeah, hyper reality, absolutely. And I didn't have a word for it at the time. I do now, obviously, I've put that word on. But yeah, hyper reality, it was like you were totally aware, and it was like being downloaded with sensory, auditory, everything. Yeah, uh, you're absolutely right.
Did you come back and feel as if everything was taken away from you again? All these sensories that you initially had?
Well, because I didn't know what they were, I just noticed, obviously, I became aware that I didn't have them when I was back here. And it was only later on, really, because at 11 years old, I, s- I wondered, had I been knocked out and dreamt it all and things. I used to call it my strange dream. So it was only later on that I became aware that I remembered that hypersensitivity that you had, or that hyper reality that you had. You don't have it here.
Did you share your story right away?
No, um, I I went back to school, after I came out the hospital. I had 2 massive black eyes, And of course, you're dead popular when you're a kid if you've got an injury, aren't you? Everybody wants to know about how. So I just told them about the accident. The only person I told about what had happened was a teacher that I trusted. And she said, write it down. She, she asked me to write it down. I did. I give it back to her and never saw it again. Um, I think I mentioned it a couple of times, maybe, but it was only when I was 20 that I really started to sort of think, I've had one of them. That's what happened to me. I began, I began to understand it better.
Got it. And when you share your story at around 20, did people, this is quite some time ago still, did people look at this as a very strange phenomenon? Did they accept it? Did they think you're crazy?
I thought I was crazy. And I only told people that I really trusted, and that was really close friends. I didn't, yeah, because I didn't understand it then, but I knew that people that had strange experiences were sometimes perceived as being emotionally unwell or mad or, whatever. So you learn who you can tell those kind of things to. Yeah.
Why was this the most important event in your life?
Because I think it changed or I wouldn't say it changed. Um, it directed my path in life. Um, because it happened, I became aware that there's no way that I could have been out. I became a nurse later on in life. And when you're unconscious, you shouldn't be able to be out of your body knowing what's so it led me on a trajectory really of exploring what it was. And I'm still doing that now. So yeah, it was massively important. I am talking to you now, of course, because I have that. Um,
Did you, people say when you're in the hospital, NDEs are drug induced, but in your case, this was on the pavement.
I was all
Yeah.
I hadn't had any drugs or anything at that point. No,
Since you worked in the hospital, have you encountered others that experienced that?
I have encountered it. I've also seen ghosts in hospitals, and I've also had patients tell me they've seen ghosts in hospitals. So yes, yeah. And also when people are dying, um, there is definitely something happens in that room. There's a strange shifting of atmosphere. And I wrote about it in my book, a strange shifting of energies. And I tell you what I find really interesting is how many people that are dying will say that they've seen a dead relative. And I think the dead relatives come back, all of them. And I've had experience where patients have told me that. They've said, saw my Auntie Daisy. She's been dead. Why would she be here? She's been dead 30 years. And you think, okay, not long now. And you know that they're going. So yes, yeah,
The ones that you have seen, how
yeah,
do they appear? Were you scared?
no. Um, One that stands out in my mind was I'd gone on duty one night and it was a long ward with 4 bays coming off of it. And at the end there were side rooms. And as I went on, I saw a patient that I knew was in the side room go across the corridor. And I put my bag down at the nurse's station and I said, such and such has just got out of bed. She's just gone across the corridor. I'll go and check on her. And the staff nurse says, I bloody hope not because she died half an hour ago. And it was like, I'll just go and check though, shall I? And I went up and there she was. But I had seen her walk across. And when I went back to the nurse's station, the staff nurse said, she went, you saw something, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I saw her cross. Oh, she was, she was, this was a very, very old lady that hadn't been out of bed and she was walking upright and she just looked normal. I thought she was okay. She wasn't, how you think that ghosts are going to be all floating something like that. So
You're a medium now, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Like, what is it that you do, and how do you help people?
Um, I did it. I always believed I didn't have an ability to do it, and or and it was just something that I noticed that I knew stuff, and so I explored that a bit more. Where am I getting things from? And I took up a route of study, and I went to mentorship courses. I I did a lot of courses, and my mediumship developed, and I've seen it bring really good things to people. You know, when you can sit there with somebody that you've never met before and say something to them, they'll say, "My granddad used to say that," um, and it makes them smile, and it gives them a little bit of what I know that you can't die. It gives them a little bit of hope. Um, there's a lot of people in the world that think they can. There's a lot of people that pretend they can, but there's some very good ones that do. And it's like everything else, we have to, pick out the people we go and see. John Edwards, you know of John Edwards from America? Yeah? Do you know him? Yeah, he's all over the telly and all the rest of it. And he's an amazing medium. And I saw him in London, and some of the evidence he came away with was unbelievable. Um, so it's about helping people more. It's about healing them when they've had a severe loss. Um, if you can bring a bit of healing to somebody who's in grief, and you've done what you're supposed to do. And that's all I do it for, is to say to people, they're not dead. Um, it's just you can't see them at the moment.
And would you have a message for people?
Yeah. Um, death is the biggest lie we've ever been told. It really is. We don't die. We can't die. Um, and that's 70 years of experience and evidence and looking at things, studying things, um, talking to people. I just know that we can't die. Um, it's not possible because our consciousness, as soon as the body gives up, the consciousness is elsewhere and it is more than it ever was. And when I say more than it ever was, when I stood, this is crazy, and I don't even know if I've got the words to say it. When I stood that time, I was connected to everything that had ever lived. And my consciousness was unbelievably large. I got infinite. I don't know. I don't have the words for it. I'm sorry. I'm I just know how I felt. I just know that I was connected to everything. And you can't kill that because it's not physical. Your body's physical, it's gonna run out. Mine's gonna run out. It's like an old car, you know what I mean? You can only sort of like keep on mending it for so long, and eventually you've got to take it to the scrap yard. But the people that were inside it have gone somewhere else, and that's just what your body is. You know, it's I'll be off somewhere dancing on the rings of Saturn, I hope. So, yeah, you can't die, guys. And I had a great fear of death before I had my near death experience as a very small child. I remember it was terrifying. And I don't anymore. I really don't. And I've seen ghosts, spirits. I've interacted with spirits. My best friend died. She dropped down dead. And within 3 hours of her dying, I saw her and interacted with her. And I thought, no, I must be hallucinating. I must be mental. Um, but then I started to talk to people and found that lots of people see what I'd seen. Lots of people see spirits. And I wrote a book about it because I want, like you, I know that you're putting out this wonderful stuff about near-death experiences and the love that comes with them. You know, it doesn't matter what god you worship. It doesn't matter what color you are, what anything. You are you, and you are loved. And that's the most important thing I brought back from my near-death experience anyway.
Beautifully said, and I really want to thank you for sharing your story today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Can I just mention that I have written a book,
Go ahead.
and it's called A Violet Feather by Hannah Stewart, and it's on Amazon, and it's full of stories about people that have seen their loved ones after they've passed over. And that includes dogs as well. And we have some lovely stories in there. I've met everybody, and I can vouch for them. They are lovely stories. But thank you very much, Mo, for having me and allowing me to just put out to the world that, it's all about love. And I wish you all the best in the world with your lovely podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, darling. Thank